Okay, so let's continue on from where we left off. Let's go ahead and build out the payout formula. First thing, like always, I'm sure you're getting bored of this by now. Save as, call this part 3. Okay, so this is going to be another slightly tricky formula, but it's like all things. You take a little time, build it once, and then it's done, and then you have it good to go for the future. So we're going to be building a formula here that triggers when the years change. So from 2017 to 2018, we want to pay out the full accrual beginning balance plus any accrual for that month so that in the future years it resets to 0. Now you might have noticed in the last video out here in June we started to accrue a larger chunk of salary. Well, why is that? Let's scroll up. I'm going to open the formula here and let's look at our income statement. Well, this is when we have our new hires start working. Remember, the COO started in June, then one accountant in September, and then another in January. So as we add more salary out here, our accrual increases down here. Okay, so now let's build out the formula to pay it out. So what we're going to say is if, and remember this is supposed to trigger in December, so that's why we can use this annual reference as our trigger. You obviously want to build this based on the bonus plan that your team comes up with, but for our purposes we're doing a holiday bonus. So we're going to say if the year does not equal the year following it, then pay out, so say the negative sum of the beginning balance plus any accrual for that month, otherwise return a 0. So in the first month, since these are both 2017, this should be a 0, and it is. So as we drag it out to the right, it should continue to be a 0, 0, 0. And then let's look out here and drag it out through the end of the year. Let's see what happens. So you can see out here, the formula looks up at the years. It sees 2017 here, 2018 here, and so it knows to pay out the full balance plus the accrual for that month, and then it resets to 0 for the next year, and you can see it starts accruing again here. So let's continue to drag it out through another year, just see what happens, make sure it works. So let's come out here through the end of 2018, go in a few extra months, Control R, and you can see it triggers here again. So it sees the year is different, and so it pays out the full amount and resets to 0 again for the subsequent year. So now that we're pretty confident that it's working, let's get it out through the entire forecast period. And then again here, it just sees a blank, which all we said was not equal to. So 2021, not equal to a blank. So it pays out the full bonus, which it should, in December of that year. And then all we have to do now is link it up to the balance sheet, and then we can see the impact of this take place in the cash flow statement. So I'm going to come back to the forecast period, come up here to our balance sheet. So here's where we put it in, and we can even link it to the historical period because remember we had zeros down there. So I'm actually going to go all the way back and then do equals, come down to our new build and do the ending balance, because remember the cash flow statement calculates the change in the ending balance in the balance sheet accounts. So I've got my 0 here, I'm going to turn it black, drag it out, cross over to the forecast period here, and you can see the balance kicks in. So right, the ending balance is now the cumulative accruals we have to date over the time period. So let's drag this out through the entire model, and then we'll look at the cash flow statement. Okay, so this is our running balance, and then you can see at the end of each year, it goes back to 0 because we're resetting the accrual for that year. So now let's go down to the cash flow statement and see how this plays out. So think about it like this. We have an expense up in the income statement, and our cash flow statement is now adjusting it to add back our accrual for that period because we're saying it's non-cash at that point. We're trying to save it until the end of the year. So as we go forward, we get out here to December, and then that cash payment all finally comes out. So you can see here we've saved up the cash. Right, I total it up down here and I see the 159,072, and then in December we have paid it all out. And why is that so important? Right, we're always trying to forecast, well, what is going to be the cash impact of the business? And we want to know that in December we're most likely going to have a bonus plan of some type, and so there's going to be a pretty big cash hit to the business. Now, hopefully the business can afford it because Again, you're not going to be paying a lot of bonus if the business isn't profitable and so on, but you still want to have it for cash forecasting purposes. So let's just check one more year to make sure it makes sense. So again, out here starting in January, we are adding back all the bonus accrual. And I like to think of it as we're saving it up until the end of the year, and then that entire accrual for the year, so let's highlight it. Right, it pays out in December. So now we feel pretty confident that our cash flow statement correctly reflects the bonus accrual that we've built down here. So in the next video, we're going to build something similar, but it's going to be for the tax accrual, and we'll get into that next.